Now I'm going to explain the actual, my experience when I experienced Jesus Christ, or in the East called Kundalini Awakening, when I experienced it to the max. And because I want you guys to be able to have, I want you to, through my experience, you can understand what needs to be done so you can have the experience. And especially, like, I've reached out to the Christian guy, George Janko, and the Girls Gone Bible, and shared this information with them, because if they can have the experience, then they can use their platform to actually teach the truth. And that will eventually, we will change the world if we work together. So I'm going to explain my experience and how it happened for me. Because what it comes down to, at the end of the day, we all desire different things, but it comes down to resisting your earthly desires. So for me at that time, it was opiates. I was heavily addicted to opiates. And Anna, and I was very much in love with my kid's mom back then, but we were both on drugs. I had a couple businesses that were extremely successful. I was making more money. If I told you how much money I was making, you wouldn't even believe me, so more money than I was mature enough to handle, honestly. And so it went from Loratabs to Oxys to, we went to a bad place pretty quickly, and we had a horrible relationship. So I decided I was done. I was done with all of it, and her too. So we broke up, and she went to my sister's house, and she was a mess. So she couldn't even take care of the kids. So like, I could still function in my life, but I was still bad with the drugs. So I had just a very high tolerance. And so she went to her mom or my sister's, and I stayed at our house and with our child and took care of our kid. And it was like, I was like clean for about 5 days. And I was trying to do everything right. I just shut down one of my businesses at the time, which was making a ton of money, but it was immoral. It was legal, but it was immoral. And I shut that business down. I was feeling good about that. And I broke up with Anna. I was feeling good about that. I didn't know at the time anything of, this was all unconscious. Like, I wasn't trying to have any experience. It was totally spontaneous for me. And so I broke up with Anna. I shut down the business. I still have my gold business, which I liked that business. So I was everything, and I was clean for about 5 days. And I was in mild opiate withdrawal, and very mild. It was just a little uncomfortable, but I was resisting. I was resisting what I desired. And I had told my daughter, Jordan, who's 17 now, I think she was like 3 or 4. It was like 2011. She was like 3 or 4, and I had told her a bedtime story, like I made it up in my head, and I got her to go to sleep. So I was feeling good about, like, I was doing everything that I knew was right, and I was like, so I got her to go to sleep, and then I was trying to go to sleep myself, and I had like a 4-bedroom house. I was just antsy from the slight withdrawal, and I was like trying to like resist. I was resisting because I had a little piece of Suboxone. I was trying to resist taking that Suboxone. So for hours, I just went from room to room to room, and I just couldn't sleep. And finally, I'm looking at my clock, and it's just after 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, damn, man. I'm like, I don't want to take this damn Suboxone because I wanted to do what was right. You know what I mean? And like, which was be totally off, because it's a hit to the ego. When you're chemically dependent on anything, it doesn't feel good. It's like, you feel like a piece of crap. But finally, it was like barely after 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, damn it, man, I'm doing the math. I'm like, I need to take this Suboxone. If not, I'm not going to sleep. I'm not going to be able to take care of my kid. So I was like, I took this little piece of, I took a half of an eighth. That's like nothing. You know what I mean? Put it under my tongue. And as soon as I put it under my tongue, I went on my couch and I lay back and I went, just like knowing that I was going to get relief, that my body was going to get like a tiny bit of opiate, just enough to make me not dope sick. So I was just like, it was so much relief because I was battling the whole time. I was like, no, I wasn't going to take it. You know what I'm saying? And that part's very important. But finally it was like, dude, logic said, I got to take it because I got to take care of my family. So I was like, I took it, and I was like, once I took it, I was just like, I took the biggest deep breath because it was like I'd been battling for 5 hours about trying not to take it. And so I submitted to my addiction. So kind of put your ego in check. My ego didn't want to do that. My ego wanted to be the man and beat the addiction, but I couldn't. So I took the tiny piece of box, and I lay back, I take this big, deeper breath, and I just started having all these positive thoughts, like just one positive thought after the next, like about the business shutting down, about having the gold shop, and I like that business, about just telling my kid the bedtime story, about breaking up with Anna, we were a train wreck. My father used to call us Sid and Nancy, like the rock people, because we were like, not rock stars, but we lived like we were, you know what I mean? It was bad. And so I was just feeling so confident about that. And then all of a sudden, the last thought that went through my head consciously before it happened was, and I think this is very important because it was showed like how humble I still was. I went to a position, this was the thought: I can follow Anna to hell, or I can follow my father to heaven. And I was, in my logical mind, I was referring to my earth father, because he was never did drugs. He was like, so if I had to, so I put myself in a position to have to follow somebody, because even though I had a bunch of money and I looked successful on the outside, I was broken. And so I was like, I can follow my father to heaven. And I was laid back at this time on the couch, laying backwards. And as soon as I said that, it was like, I felt something. It felt like, I called it my butthole at the time, but it's not. It's like the base of your spine. And it was like, boop, 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 boop. It was like a beam me up, Scotty type thing. It was like, boop, boop, boop. It came up through me, like almost every chakra, but one at a time, like boop, 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 boop. And each time it rose, it was like more intense, more intense. Then all of a sudden it came out of my head, and it was like, and I felt I was obviously laying on the couch, but it felt like I was floating about 15 feet above the couch, and I was just connected to the entire universe, and I was getting these telepathic messages that were so, like, a lot of them, you know what I mean? It was like, it's too much to even describe. One of the messages was Jesus Christ, and which confused me afterwards, because, and I'll explain that some other time, but was basically to Jesus Christ. So, but I was getting all these messages, and I felt this love and compassion that literally was bone trembling. It was like, so I was like, I'm feeling so much. I'm getting these messages. I'm feeling, like I wasn't part of the universe. I was the universe. You know what I mean? That's how it felt. And so I'm getting these telepathic messages, and it's like, and I'm feeling like, basically like an orgasm out of every single cell of my body, like full blown, but an orgasm that doesn't end. It's just like, boo. And so I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying. I'm going to heaven, And so like, and in my logical mind, I was like, I can't die right here, right now, because my kid's gonna wake up and find me dead. Like, that can't happen. So I was like, it was too intense, and I didn't know what a Kundalini awakening was, or I didn't understand all this stuff about Jesus Christ and what that actually means back then. So I was like, pulled myself. It felt too good, and I was convinced I was dying and going to heaven, and so I pulled myself out of it. I was like, no, and I got out of it, and And I called my daddy. I was 33 years old. I called my daddy in the middle of the night, and I was like, do you know why I'm calling you right now? And because I thought everybody was psychic. I was full-blown psychic for like 3 days after that. Like, I could literally sit there and I could read people's minds. But like, I was like, you know why I'm calling you, don't you? And he's like, man, you are scaring me. What are you talking about? I'm like, I know you know. I was like, and he was like, you are freaking me out. No, I have no clue. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning, or after 2 at that point. The whole experience only lasted a couple minutes. You know what I mean? I just want to explain to you how it happened for me, because you guys all are going to have, sorry, I keep touching the table. You guys are all going to have whatever it is that you desire, and whatever that is, even if it's beating your meat, you can't do that either. You can't release the seed. It's not about just having sex or having sex with different people. It's about keeping it in. If you have a wet dream, then whatever, then it's supposed to happen that way. But none of that, you know what I mean? You resist this world. You resist the desires of this world, and then you can come into understanding who you truly are, which is God. That's who we are. We all are. We are all unconditional love. That's what God is. God is unconditional love. Jesus Christ is the representation. He's an ascended master that reached these extremely high levels of consciousness. I truly believe that, but he's not our savior. He's just not. I now understand 12 years later that when I was getting those, I got millions of telepathic messages. First of all, it's like, it's impossible to explain. But one of the main ones was to Jesus Christ. And I'm like, afterwards, I'm thinking, but I know that's not right. I'm like, why? So I've been battling that forever. And it wasn't long ago that I found the book that explained what I've shown in my other videos, that Jesus Christ is actually within us. So then I learned that's why I was getting that message, to study the life of Jesus Christ, so I could be talking to you right here like I am right now. So it's very deep. I know it's going to take people a little while to catch on to, but if you can exercise discipline, resist your temptations, all of them, get your body in an alkaline state, and when you do all these things right, you'll start to feel good about yourself. And when you do, when the moon is in your sun sign, you get in a meditative state, your body's alkaline, and you give yourself to the potential of truly understanding through your own experience of who you truly are. And when enough of us do that, that's when we change the world, So, all right. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. But at that time, it was just so overwhelming. All right. And I didn't know what it was. And I had a heavy addiction. I ended up getting back on drugs not long after, or on Suboxone or something. I had a heavy opioid tolerance, But anyhow, because I was on opiates, so this part's important too. Because I was on opiates, I wasn't having a lot of sex because I really didn't care about sex. I just wanted to get doped up. So that's why my seed got preserved, I believe. And me and Anna were fighting, so we weren't having sex, and we really weren't at that time anyway that much. And then I was resisting everything that I desired, you know, and I had money. I had lots of money. I had probably $500,000 in the bank, you know, so I could have kept doing drugs, but I resisted. I resisted all those things. And then my body was alkaline because I wasn't eating, because I had been somewhat dope sick for like 4 or 5 days, you know, and when you're in that state, your body's extra sensitive.